Universities spend millions redesigning lecture halls and adopting active learning. But look closely at the end of the semester. The grading practices evaluating those students frequently look the same as they did 50 years ago. This chart reveals a significant lag. An upward trajectory tracks the steady adoption of new teaching methods, while a flat line shows the stagnation of assessment reform. Administrators usually address this by rolling out campus-wide initiatives. They design a single, standardized rubric and drop it over every department. The mandate often fractures when it hits the faculty level, facing pushback from professors in the sciences, arts, and business schools. This resistance stems from a mismatch between institutional goals and the specific ways different disciplines define student success. Faculty developers often treat assessment as a neutral, universal skill, a mechanical upgrade that can be installed in any classroom regardless of the subject matter. We can examine this through the lens of epistemology, the theory of how a field determines what constitutes valid knowledge and truth. Faculty often reject administrative assessment methods that conflict with their discipline's epistemology to maintain their field's intellectual standards. Educational researcher Tony Beecher described university departments as academic tribes. Each tribe operates within its own territory, enforcing distinct cultural values, borders, and definitions of rigor. Understanding these tribal rules reveals why a good assessment in one building might be considered a failure in another. We can map these academic tribes using this matrix. The x-axis ranges from pure theoretical research to applied practical work. The y-axis moves from hard quantitative data down to soft qualitative analysis. This creates 4 distinct territories. In the top left, we find the hard pure disciplines: chemistry, biology, and physics. Knowledge here is objective and atomistic. It builds cumulatively, relying on universal laws to explain complex phenomena. Their assessment matches this structure, relying on standardized, mathematically quantitative measures, like multiple-choice exams and quantitative lab reports. In this culture, the primary ethical values are fairness and consistency. All students are graded against the same universal standard to ensure comparability. These instructors often avoid open-ended group work or flexible grading schemes because those formats introduce subjectivity into a measurement that is meant to be standardized. Hard peer assessment measures value-free data points, which makes the use of holistic, subjective rubrics appear incompatible with the discipline's goals. Directly below them are the soft peer disciplines: history, English, and philosophy. Instead of reducing complexity into simple components, soft peer disciplines embrace it. Their work is iterative and heavily dependent on context. Their signature assessments are long-form essays, qualitative reflections, and creative articulation. In these fields, clear writing serves as the primary evidence of clear critical thinking. A soft peer assessment tests a student's capacity to navigate competing arguments and articulate nuance rather than finding a single correct, universal answer. In the top right quadrant, we enter the hard applied territory, fields like engineering and computer science. Their epistemology is purposive and pragmatic. They utilize the theoretical knowledge generated by the pure sciences to master physical or digital environments. Their assessments focus on functional outcomes, utilizing project-based problem-solving and heuristic trial and error. These tribes often prioritize execution over theoretical perfection. They value seeing if a physical model holds weight or if computer code actually runs. Hard applied disciplines assess practical effectiveness. Accuracy is determined by whether the solution works in the field. Finally, in the bottom right, we have the soft applied disciplines: education, nursing, and journalism. These fields apply soft knowledge to enhance human situations and professional practice. They use theory-to-practice clinical evaluations, open-ended case studies, and iterative portfolios. This tribe prioritizes formative assessment, evaluating the ongoing learning process and providing continuous feedback throughout a semester. In the soft applied quadrant, assessment functions as a continuous tool for shaping a student's professional evolution. Psychology exists as a blended pure discipline, straddling the borders between quantitative science and qualitative human practice. Instructors in these fields often face internal tension. They may be trained in the quantitative methods of research, but work in environments that value soft applied practices, are asked to replace objective exams with qualitative case studies. The campus centers responsible for teaching and faculty development are often staffed by professionals from the soft applied quadrant, such as the education department. These developers frequently attempt to apply their specific, process-oriented, formative values to the entire institution. Standardized rubrics often reflect the specific cultural values of the soft applied quadrant, regardless of where they are implemented. This is why forcing soft applied rubrics upon hard pure chemistry and biology faculties leads to significant institutional pushback. This triggers a dynamic known as the prestige hierarchy. Historically, high paradigm physical sciences have held higher institutional status than social sciences and education. From the perspective of a hard pure scientist, soft applied grading methods can appear to lack necessary scientific rigor. Adopting these rubrics would require a physics or chemistry professor to change their definition of what counts as valid evidence in their field. Indeed, faculty resistance represents a rational effort to defend their discipline's specific definition of truth. We can see now that grading is an exercise in epistemology. Improving university assessment requires a strategy that acknowledges this fact. Successful reform requires moving away from the idea of discipline-independent universal rubrics. Faculty developers must learn the epistemological rules of a discipline before they attempt to alter how it tests students. Cross-disciplinary dialogue succeeds when new assessment tools are calibrated to match a tribe's existing definitions of rigor. Ultimately, progress in higher education depends on structural reforms that respect the deep cultural signatures of each field. To change how a university tests, leadership must first respect how its individual